This is BMW's all-new F900 XR, and I first saw it about 2 years ago, sort of. It appeared at the Concorso d'Eleganza on Lake Como as the Novecento concept. The clues were obvious even to an idiot like me. Novecento is 900 in Italian, and it looked like the same riding position and road bias as the S1000 XR, which was already proving to be a big seller for BMW. A smaller capacity version, a middleweight if you like, made a lot of sense because Yamaha's Tracer was absolutely selling by the bucket loads in Europe. So here it is, the reply to the challenge of the Tracer, in production, and I have to say, not looking too dissimilar from the concept. The one thing that really tickled me about the concept unfortunately hasn't made it into production, but that's no great surprise. On the shores of Lake Como, it sported a super slim tail end and a uselessly small set of panniers. It wasn't the panniers so much as the mounting system. No ugly brackets, just some hidden magnets. Very neat, very 21st century, very unlikely to make it into production. And so we'll probably have to wait a few more years for that bit of technical wizardry. So, now there's a middleweight XR, but after testing the bigger brother, the S1000 XR last week, I'm probably not very excited about riding this one, right?
Logic would dictate no, but thankfully bikes aren't always logical. It's 105 horsepower versus 165 horsepower. But as I've been telling Don for years now, it isn't always about outright power. There's less weight with the F900 XR, though to be fair it's only about 7 kilos or so, so it's fairly insignificant. The 900 is, and I need to be careful about saying this, but it's almost a better sport tourer. It's just that little bit more entertaining to ride on these sort of tight roads. It's definitely less threatening. It's definitely a lot easier to get on with. Yeah, it's a close thing. Look, power isn't a seductive thing, and who doesn't like to scare themselves with a little bit of power? But if you're after something that makes a really good all-rounder but has still got enough to really enjoy a ride in a beautiful area like this, you know what, I'm tempted to go with the F900. I really am.
That's quite a bold claim, I'll admit, so let's try and break it down a bit, starting with the engine. It's the biggest version yet of BMW's parallel twin, the one that started out in 2008 in the F800S, then a couple of years ago grew and changed its firing order to slot into the 850 GS, and now has reached 895cc with that very different firing order which gives it something that the original 800 could only ever dream about: character. It feels and sounds like a V-twin to ride, and that's a good thing. There's a mildly amusing mid-range and a definite giggle of a top-end hit, all rounded off with some electronic riding modes that, with Dynamic Pro in particular, give you a perky, zesty 105 horsepower of pretty rapid fun.
Yes, I know it's 10 horsepower or more down on the Tracer. And I also know that that Tracer's triple is an absolute gem of an engine. But I don't know. The twin here, combined with a really sweet chassis, and of course an absolute bag full of electronics, the whole thing just gels together that little bit better. Now, don't get me wrong, I rode and tested the Tracer for the program. In fact, you can look it up on the YouTube channel a couple of years ago now, and I absolutely loved it. It's a great bike. But I'd have to say, I really think the BMW slightly got the edge now overall. It's a close thing, but somehow, and I know my memory's a bit rusty, but the F900 XR is just that little bit more ease gauging. Eh?
Yeah, that's a terrible invented word, but it's the combination of something that's engaging enough to be rewarding and also easy enough to ride that you don't even have to think about it. But yeah, it's still a horrible word, but hopefully you get the idea about what I mean. And then we've got the chassis, which also isn't anything exceptionally interesting or innovative. Even on the top model that I'm riding with all the bells and whistles on board, there's no adjustability in the forks. But you know what? It doesn't matter. They're great and happy to dive bomb apexes or trundle along with a passenger, so no worries there at all. At the rear, there's an electronically adjustable shock that can also come with semi-active responses, which is probably a bit of overkill for a model like this. Still, adjusting for different loads without getting a spanner out is well worth paying for.
It might be relatively simple, but it really works. I rode the S1000 XR on very similar tight and twisting roads to these, and I have to say the 900s is just more enjoyable. And if there aren't too many straights, then I'd hazard a guess and say it's not that much slower either. But regardless of outright pace, it's the fun factor. It's just bigger on the 900. It's not so scary. And unless you're a proper weirdo, being scared isn't the best way to have fun.
Electronically, the 900 XR knocks all its opposition for 6. I've got the top spec model here, so it comes fitted with just about every conceivable extra, from electronically adjustable rear suspension to dynamic traction control, all operated through a beautiful TFT screen. There's even a dedicated BMW app that I managed to get working, which says something for its ease of use. It's free, and it lets you control and check certain functions, and has an entertaining tool that lets you look back at your ride and see what lean angle you got where and other riding indicators. Your own telemetry engineer in your pocket, if you like, which even for a Luddite like me seems pretty cool. So much praise, it sounds perfect, but it isn't. The screen, which is really nice and easily adjustable between the two positions, when it's up, which you want for cruising speeds, it gives too much buffeting around the head, and that makes it tiring rather too quickly for my liking. And then there's the tank. At 15.5 litres, it's pretty small. In fact, it only just basically scrapes in to fulfill its touring role. If you ride with a decently energetic right wrist, you're probably going to be looking at finding a petrol station after about 200-220 k's when the fuel light is going to start flashing at you. And that can get annoying as well. And then there's the seat. It's nice and narrow, so that helps with the feeling of a lowered seat height, and you can get both feet on the ground pretty easily, but it's too hard. Any more than 2 hours in the saddle and your bottom is going to hate you. Actually, there's one more thing, just a little niggle. The two-way quick shifter. It's good at high RPM. At low RPM, it's not. It's too lumpy, too graunchy. So I found myself using a clutch and doing it the old-fashioned way. That's it, I promise.
None of these issues are deal breakers though, they're just minor irritations. The F900 is a really complete package. It can definitely tour and it can also definitely sport. As a one do-it-all kind of bike to have in the garage, it takes some teaching. And if you were in the market for Yamaha's Tracer, and why wouldn't you be, it's a great bike, well, previously that was a super easy decision, but not anymore. You need to look at the F900 if you're looking at the Tracer and decide between the two. They really are that closely matched, and given how good the Tracer is, I'd say there isn't much more of a higher recommendation I can give this new BMW.
Welcome back. Now I get a chance to chat with Don about the XRs. You remember last week I had the S1000 XR on test, and this week obviously was the F900 XR, and coincidentally they've just been released in South Africa, so Don has had the chance to ride them both very briefly, so I'm looking forward to discussing with him. He is sat in his home in Johannesburg where it is 2 degrees, and I am sat inside the van in Bavaria where it is not 2 degrees. I've got a pair of shorts on, so allow my smugness to fade away a little bit. And Don,
no, I'm gonna kill your smugness right here. I want you to tell me a quick story. Or something about you surrounded by German police or something. What?
You have no idea how to keep a secret, do you? Okay, so one of the features that you don't get on the South African model of the BMW is a little SOS button. It's a feature designed to help you out. So if you crash your bike or the bike falls over, then there is somebody in a call center somewhere who speaks to you and asks if you're all right. And I needed something fixing on this van, so we went to a backstreet garage somewhere, and I sort of heard out of the... It took me about 2 or 3 minutes to realise what was going on, but there was this disembodied woman's voice going, hello? Hello? Are you all right? Can I send any help? Are you all right? And eventually I worked out it was coming from my bike. So I kind of walked up to it like the thing was on fire and peered around it. And the woman said, hello, are you all right? And I said, yes, thanks. I mean, I didn't know I had this button. I hadn't really checked. And she said, well, if you're all right, can I cancel the services? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what services you're on about, but yeah, feel free to cancel them. And she said, okay, goodbye. Number one, how did she know I was English? I was in Germany, but okay, so that was a bit weird. And I turned to look at the guy from the garage and my wife, and everything seemed okay. And then all of a sudden, a police car sidled up to us. 2 very annoyed looking policemen said, are you all right? Yes, I'm all right. And then in the background, as the policemen were there in their car, Nino, 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 a fire truck came screaming round the corner with 8 firemen in it, all leaped out. Where's the accident? Where's the accident? Oh no, now I'm beginning to realise what's happened. This is not good, it's quite embarrassing. Then a fire van with just a couple of extra firemen pitched up with their, and I'm like, no, this can't be happening to me, on a little back road next to the garage. And then one final vehicle, it was the fire chief in his car, all piled in, expecting a massive accident, to find me going, sorry, don't speak German, I really do apologise, I'm from South Africa. Does that help? So amazing. So they've got an SOS button which does work, and in Germany the response time is absolutely unbelievable. Let's go to the S1000 XR first.
Okay.
I did complain a little bit about it. I'm interested in what your take is.
Now, okay, one thing, I think you did mention to me you had that seat on that bike, which has kind of got the sort of cup thing that sort of cups you in. 2 things. It's very comfortable if you've got the correctly proportioned backside. Let's put it that way. If, for example, your backside is perhaps a little too large, and you don't say, for example, fits in the cup thing, then okay, possibly not that comfortable. The other thing is, okay, if like me, you've got really short legs, and the bike is quite tall, and you've got this funny cup thing, you can't get your legs out as easily. Now, that SOS thing, if I understand you correctly, if you fall over, it calls 7 ambulances, 12 policemen, and a fire truck. So that's going to happen with me. That would happen literally every 10 minutes. Every time I stop in that thing, I'm going to go, and I'm going to get 7 policemen, 5 fire trucks, and an ambulance.
Yeah, I think they've got a bit too clever for themselves there. The bike that really interested me is the one that is the brand new model, the one that we tested in this show, the F900 XR. Don, what did you reckon to that?
What I will say is that motor is just leaps and bounds ahead of the 850. I mean, the 850, they had the 800, which was completely forgettable, and that is honestly the worst insult I could give, worst criticism I could give a motorcycle. I completely forgot about it. It's like I know I'd ridden it, but I I didn't remember anything about it. The 850 was a lot better, but still rather vanilla. And the 900, at least you kind of go, hey, you know what I mean? It gives you this sort of childhood sort of sense of excitement, if you know what I mean.
Something I didn't think I'd get along with is BMW's app, BMW Connected, I think it's called. I wanted to use the sat-nav, obviously because I don't know where I am in Germany. After much swearing and throwing of things, I realised I had to have the app on my phone. So I stood by the side of the road near a supermarket in the middle of Munich somewhere. I downloaded the app. I've got an Android phone, so Google Play Store, downloaded the app. It connected to the bike. Amazing, because as Don knows, I'm not very good with technology. And it offers, look, a lot of it's a bit gimmicky. You can check your fuel status, and you can check things about when your bike needs a service, all that sort of thing. It has this, the good thing though is you can import maps and routes and all that sort of thing. It's also though, it has like it's like a telemetry engineer in your pocket you pull out. So you can review every single ride you've taken. You can see things like lean angle either side as it traces its route across the map. And as you can see from here, if we just overlay it, when I did that top speed run on the S1000 XR, I can actually go back into the app and look at it and see where I did it. Now it'll trace throttle position, top speed, or you can have it tracing RPM and throttle position. There are a number of variable factors, altitude, all that sort of thing, which, I don't know, I'm not really a technical kind of nerdy person, but it's really, really cool to be able to... So Don, you could be up and down the Sarby Hazyview Road and checking your lean angles on every single corner and your timings and your throttle position and acceleration, deceleration.
That's dangerous. Because I'm gonna
Yes,
pull up
it is
next to my
dangerous.
mates and we go, check my lean angle. He's gonna go, oh, is it? Look at this. And I'm gonna have to go and beat him. I just am. Top speed, acceleration. I'm going to have to. And then he has to beat me, and this is gonna keep going until we both die. Simple. We're blokes, this is how we are.
But if you lived over here, at least you'd both have an SOS button.
That's
so,
true.
you know, maybe the two things are connected.
Dying. But every time I make a U-turn, I am gonna get 5 ambulances, 7 fire trucks, and a police van. You know? That XR, you're talking about electronics. A complaint I've had for a while now with the smaller F BMW motorcycles is that quick shifter of theirs. You pull off. I mean, okay, we had the launch. I had our videographer Megan sitting on the back. We pulled off in first gear. I thought, hey, it's got a quick shifter. Hit the quick shifter. The thing goes, clonk, and we both bump helmets and stuff. And it's like, well, what exactly is the point? If you know what I mean. And from then on, I didn't use it again. I just tapped off, it was nice and smooth. Why?
Yes, I've no answer to that question. You're absolutely right, Don. I thought maybe it was me, but in low RPM particularly, but I did exactly the same as you, mate. When I was here, and I had that for, I can't remember, 4 or 5 days, and I did the same thing. Low RPM, it's just not worth using. Even at high RPM, it's not that good. If I had Jax, my wife, on the back, really, really bad. So I did, in fact, you might even be able to see it in some of the onboard shots. I'm blipping the throttle, I'm using the clutch. I just forgot it was there, basically. In terms of its major competition, the 900, that's the Tracer. Price-wise, it's very close in South Africa, isn't it? What price are we going? Because they've just been announced in South Africa. What price have we got for the XR?
Okay, the XR full spec is 205. And generally BMW bring it in with full spec because people aren't, I don't know.
With everything, yeah.
I don't know. It's about 40 grand cheaper if you bring it in non-full spec. Maybe they will, I don't know. But so it's 205 for the BMW. For the Tracer 900, it is 199. So 200 grand. So actually, and I don't think the Tracer has all those electronic goodies. So fair enough.
No. Look, the Tracer, as I said in the piece, got a great engine, but technologically wise, it's a few steps behind now, the BMW, with all its riding modes. Don, thank you very much for joining me. That's all we got time for. Thanks for embarrassing me about getting stopped by loads of firemen and policemen. Don is actually about to disappear on a ride now, with one of your Fire It Up rides, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to go do a ride around. No, hang on, it's not a Fire It Up ride. We're not technically allowed gatherings. I'm going on a ride, and if people follow me, what can I do about it?
Thanks for joining me, Don.
Cool.
I'll see you after the break, and so will Don when he's talking to people at Fire It Up, where they don't go on organised rides, because that would be wrong. See you then.